Welcome to another session on Unit 4. This is sixth session on this unit, combinational logic circuits. So these are the different topics we have seen in the discussion so far. In this previous session, we had looked into the XOR function, and we will look into the applications of the XOR function. All right. And we will also look into the binary adder and binary subtractor. So these will be upcoming in this session. So let's get started. So we will look into how we can perform the odd function realization by using the XOR gate. So XOR gate can be used to identify when an odd function appears. So we have seen that if you take x and y as a two input, when x is 1 or y is 1, the output is 1. When both are ones, output is 0. So therefore we can say that it works for odd number of inputs. So therefore if you have three variables a, b, and c, the and we take the XOR operation of all these three, a XOR b, that whole XORed with c. So we know that a XOR b will be equal to a b complement odd with a complement b. So we consider this as one term and apply the XOR function. So therefore we get this as c complement, and here we get this as ab. Sorry, this is not ab, this is the same term here, should be applied with the c complement c. Okay, I mean, that is because we have taken the complement of this. Sorry, this is correct. So we take a complement of this. So we will get this as AB. So as you know, this is an XOR function. When you take a complement of this, it is XNOR function. What is the XNOR function? XNOR will be AB or AB A complement B complement. So that is what is. So how do we get the XOR function? One function, I mean one variable and the complement of the other variable. Similar odd with the complement of the first variable and the true value of the second variable, right? So that's the same concept we are applied here. Okay, so when we further simplify this, we get this term, and this is nothing but for again this here a is the most significant bit and c is the least significant bit. So one so I think this is yeah, 100 is 4, and so this is 001 is 1. So this is your a, I mean a complement b complement c is 1, and this will be 4, and so this is 7, and this is 2. So we should have arranged it in the proper way, but then it's arranged like this. Okay, so that will be the order. Okay, so this is the equation. So we can identify that this is in the standard form we are writing. So we can write the corner map and try to simplify this expression. So you see that there is no grouping anywhere, so we can't do the grouping. So therefore this will appear as it is. Can this be grouped with this? Can M2 be grouped with M4? No, they are not in the adjacent. They again come in a diagonal way. When you fold this, it will come in a diagonal way. So therefore you can't simplify them. Therefore this is the final expression, which is the one shown here. So that will be the output of a 3-variable XOR function. Now you see that whenever there is an odd number of ones, the output is 1. So here you see how many how many number of ones are there. There is only 1. So therefore output is 1. Here there are two number of ones. If you consider A is 0 and B and C both are 1. So how many number of ones are there? So it is two number of ones. So it is even number of ones. So output is 0. Here if you consider only B is high, C is 0 and A is 0. So odd number of ones. So output is 1. Similarly, if you consider here A is 1, B and C both are 0, so it is 1. So therefore, odd number of 1. Again, when you consider for 7, it is three number of ones. A, B, C, all three are 1. So there are three number of ones, which is an odd number. So we see that this function gives us the, that is the three input NOR gate, sorry, not NOR gate, the XOR gate will directly give us a odd function. So that means if you want to make it work as an odd function, it has to identify when the odd number of ones are there, then you can use this for an odd function. Of course, we are not saying here, I mean, 2 is not an odd number or nor 4 is odd a number. Here we are talking about the number of ones in this binary sequence, not the uh, even number or the odd number as a decimal, as we consider in decimal. All right. Okay. So now if you take a complement of this, as you know, when we take a complement of XOR operation, we get XNOR operation. So we take all the zeros. So that means this is all three are zeros. So here, so in the previous, what you call the Karnaugh map, M0, M3, M5, and M6 were zeros. So in the new Karnaugh map, that is when we take the complement of A XOR B XOR C, the whole complement. Then we get M0, M3, M5, and M6 all to be ones. Again, you see these also cannot be grouped with each other. All right. We cannot do the grouping here or grouping here. So therefore, when you fold this also, it will come. So it will come one below the other. I mean, in a diagonal way, not beside the other. Okay. So therefore, this also we cannot further simplify. So what will be the output of this? So we have seen that it can be used as an odd function. So here, so if you want to realize this using a three input, the odd function, if you want to realize using the XOR gates directly. So this is the XOR gate, which is having two inputs. Similarly, you can realize the even function by using one XOR gate and one XNOR gate. So we have used two XOR gates to identify the three input odd function, and we have used one two input XOR gate and one two input XNOR gate to implement the three input even function. Again, you remember even function means there are even number of ones. Okay, so if you check here, so 0 is also 0 is considered to be even number of ones. Okay, because no ones implies it is even number. So here only one number of 1 is present in this binary what you call combination, because 0 0 1. So 1, it is an odd number. Here 1 1. So two number of 1. So it is 1. So here again 1 1 0. So it is, and here 1 0 1. So two number of 1. So you can see that this even number of functions. All right. So now let us look for a 4 variable odd function. So what will be the 4 variable? So how do we find the XOR operation? So first we find the XOR of A and B, and then we find the XOR of C and D. XOR operation is applicable by 2 by 2. You cannot directly apply for the whole. So that is the point we are trying to make here. So how did we realize using 3-bit? Uh, 3 input variables we just saw. This is for a 4 input. So please remember, you cannot directly apply the XOR operation for the 3 input. So you have to treat them as one input. Okay, and then apply XOR for that, and then again apply the internally for the smaller and smaller results what we get. Okay, so this is the when we take XOR operation. So if you take this as a, I mean, if there's a X and Y, so X XORed with Y is X Y complement. So this will be the complement of CD complement or C complement D. Okay. Similarly, we take the other one's complement here. Okay. So that means you get complement of this function will be AB or A complement B complement, and this function as it is. So now we've multiplied term by term, and you see that the output will be 1, 2, 4, 7. So these are all the odd number of ones that you can check by from the Karnaugh map. So you see that 0, 0, 0, 1, only one number of 1 is present. 0, 0, 1, 1, two number of 1s. So this is 0. Output is 0. So here 0, 0, 1, 0, one number. So for M4, M7, it is three numbers. Three number of 1s. So it is odd number. So similarly, for M13, it is three number of 1s. For M14, also three number of 1s. For M8, it is 1, and for M11 it is three number of the M11 it is three number of ones. So we see that you can identify the odd number of ones. Please again remember, we are not looking at the odd number as uh, 1, 3, 5, 7 and so on. We are looking at odd number of ones for the combination of this ABCD input. That means they should, when you take the number of ones in that ABCD sequence, it should have odd number of ones. That is what we are looking at. All right. So when we want to take the even number of ones, so we take the complement of this. So we get this as A XOR B XOR C XOR D, the whole complement. And for this, again, you can't do the mapping. As you see, there are none of these ones are adjacent to each other. So therefore, we can't further simplify this. So this is as it is the equation. We have to write it. Okay. Next is called the parity checking and parity generation. So that means we want to check for even parity. That means when I have a three input variable, and let us say that is the message that we have, and we want to know whether it has even number of ones or odd number of ones. So when we say even parity, that means we have another bit called parity bit, which will become 1 to make sure that there are even number of ones at any given point of time. So that means you see that the output here will be so since here there are only one number of 1, so therefore parity bit will become 1 to make sure that there are even numbers. So 1 and 1, so therefore even number of ones are there. Here only one is present, so therefore parity bit again will be 1 to make sure that is even number. Here two ones are there, the input, so parity bit will be 0 to say that there are already even number of ones present. So again, for this combination it will be 1 because only 1 is present. For this 0, for this 0, and for this three ones are there, and output the parity bit will be 1 to make sure that there are even number of ones, because 3 is not an even number of ones. So this is the parity generator. So this is used for many applications in case of transmission and reception, to just check again when we are doing transmission and reception. So we will be transmitting in terms of zeros and ones. So how will the receiver know whether there is any error that caused any corruption? So any noise that caused a corruption of the uh, message. So this is one way, very simple way of checking for error. All right, just to make sure that there are always even number of ones. Of course, if the parity bit itself is what you call corrupted, then this scheme of checking will fail. Okay, so this is a very simple application. There are much more advanced versions what we use in the communications now. So let us look into the realization of this. So what we see here is that it is a simple uh, XOR operation. So is a parity, the even parity generator works as an XOR operation. So uh, you can implement by using a two input XOR gate, two such numbers. All right. So we can see that uh, this is the output. So therefore, a simple uh, parity generator, we call this as a parity generator. So because though this function, it is a simple function of a uh, XOR XOR gate, of a 3-input XOR gate, it works as a parity bit. That means parity generation. It generates a parity bit. So that is what we are using. So this uh, gate realization and what do you call, the gate realization for the 3 bit XOR gate will be the same. Okay, so that is what we have shown here. Okay, the next we'll do the parity checking. So how do we check? So as we said, when the inputs are zeros, the parity bit will be 1. Uh, is that what we? Okay, so that is not the condition here. Now what we are taking is, we are taking even the parity bit for a 4. That means we are here we are not generating the parity, but the parity is also used as an input. So we are using this as a 4-input, uh, what you call, 4 inputs we are considering, and then we are using the parity check. So this along with x, y, and z, p also is considered as one of the inputs. So p keeps varying as 0, 1, 0. I mean, p is the least significant bit and x is the most significant bit that we can consider here. So in this, there are totally 16 combinations, starting with all bit being zeros to all bit being 1. And again, parity check, and this is again for even parity. We are checking. So when p is 1, I mean, there is when only when one number, whenever there is odd number of ones, the check bit will be 1. So for this combination, check bit is 1. For this combination, again, check bit is 1. Here 2 number of ones are there, so check bit is 0. Here only one number, so 1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 0, 3. It will be 1, 2, 0, 2. I mean 3 here, so 1, and these are 3 and 1, and is all 4 here, so which is not a odd, so it will be 0 here. So we are having the parity check. So we can see that if you use a 4-input, again the parity check, uh, I mean, if you use a simple 4-input XOR gate, it can be made to work as a parity check. If you use a 3-input XOR function, XOR gate, you can use it as a parity generator. If you use a 4-input XOR gate, you can make it work as a parity check. Okay, so that is what we have seen here. So how do we do this? So this is a 4-input XOR gate, which is given to the another XOR. Uh, so you get the parity check. I mean, this is the parity generator circuit we have seen in the previous case. Now this is a parity check. So we have seen that the 3-input XOR function can be used as a parity generator, and 4-input XOR function can be used as a parity check. So this is what is the output. So C will be XOR of all the 4 variables, x XORed with y, that result XORed with z, and that result XORed with p. That is the parity bit. All right. So far we have seen the application of the XOR, how we can use it for a even, I mean, how you can detect the even number of ones or odd number of ones, and how you can use it as a parity generator and parity check. That is what we have seen about the application of the XOR gates. Now let us look into the binary adder. Now what is an adder? It will add two numbers. All right. Now why is it called a binary adder? It will add the binary. So we know the decimal addition. When you add two numbers, so you will get with the sum. Okay. So we have binary adder here. So here binary adders, first we have to study what are called as half adder. Now why is it called a half adder? If I take two inputs x and y, and since it's a binary, so therefore the x and y can be zeros or ones. It can't be more than that, right? So therefore if x is 0, y is 0, what will be the addition of these two will be 0. 0 and 1, output will be 1. The sum of these two will be 1, and sum of 1 and 0 will be 1, and sum of 1 and 1 will be 0 with a carry of 1, right? So now whenever we perform some addition, we see that except for the first, that is the least significant position, when we go to the next higher position, when we add, we also consider the carry if it was generated from the previous addition, right? So here if you see, I have only two inputs, so that means I cannot consider the carry if it was generated from the previous addition. So therefore this adder is called as a half adder because it has no provision to add the previous carry if it was generated. So as you know, when I add two numbers, when I have make it complete, I will be adding those two numbers plus an additional carry if it was generated from the previous addition. So that we call it as a full adder. So therefore here this circuit is, this truth table is called the half adder. So when I add both, when x and x and y both are ones, the sum will be 0, but it will generate a carry. So therefore the carry bit will be 1. So when I add two variables x and y, which are binary variables, I will get two outputs called the sum and the carry, right? So therefore, if you write the expression for this in terms of the min terms, so you will get this as, so when is the s output is 1, when x complement y, or x y complement. So this is what, it's a XOR operation. So S is 1 when there is an XOR operation of the two inputs. When is the carry equal to 1? When both are equal to 1. So that means it is an AND gate. So we can realize the sum and the carry by using these two functions. So this is using the basic gates. Now if you want to use a simplify this, so you know from the direct equation, we see that it is an XOR function here and an AND function. So that is what we have shown here. So this is a half adder. Why is it called a half adder? It does not add the carry from which resulted from the previous addition, right? See now when we are adding here, it has generated a sum and a carry. Now if this sum I give it to another uh, half adder as an input, it will not take this carry as an input to the half adder. It will take another input, right? So therefore, which is not the proper or a complete addition mathematically. So that is why this is called as a half adder. Okay, now let us look into the full adder. As I said, if you are going to consider the carry from the previous, then that is called as the full adder. Now, for the same x and y input, we are going to consider the z. So z will act as the carry from the previous addition. So when x and y both are zeros, and when there was no carry from the previous input. So how do we? I'm just telling you how we can uh, realize or analyze this table as. So when x and y both are zeros, and the carry from the previous addition was 1. So when x is 0, y is 1, and the carry from the previous addition was 0. When x is 0 and y is 1, and the carry from the previous addition was 1. And this is how we realize or understand this truth table. Okay, so z is acting here as a carry from the previous addition. So this will again result in a carry and sum. So please don't get confused with the z. The z is, I'm going to, so this I'm going to call it as a full adder because I'm taking two numbers for addition and also the carry from the previous addition, which I'm representing it as z. All right. So this will generate the carry and the sum. So when I add x 0 plus 0 plus 1, sum is 1. So here the plus is not the OR operation, it is the addition operation. So 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 1 is sum is 0 with a carry of 1. And 1 plus 0 is 0, but carry is 0 and sum is 1. When 1 plus 0 plus 1, sum will be 0 and carry will be 1. And for the last combination, 1 plus 1 plus 1, it is 3. So 3 means, so sum is 1 and carry is 1. So this you can recall how we are converting from the binary to decimal and decimal to binary. So there you will understand how we are converting. 3. 3 is a decimal number. How do you convert to binary? So by dividing. So you get sum 1, carry 1. So that is how we have got it here. Okay, so this is another way of identifying. Now if you write the output expression for sum and the output expression for carry, this will be, so when is sum 1, x complement y complement z, and the next one is x complement yz, and xy complement z complement, and xyz. When is carry 1, when when we consider, I mean, so here when is a carry bit 1, so you see that it is by, this is by, mm, if you draw the what you call the Karnaugh map, you will get this expression. Of course, this is a simplified one. So here, if you directly take the min terms, this will be x complement uh, y, sorry, x complement y z, and for this it will be x y complement z, and so on for the remaining two terms. So therefore, here we have taken the Karnaugh map and simplified. So this is for the sum, and this is for the carry. So when you see for the sum, it is an XOR function, as you can see. So you can't be grouping anything with each other. Whereas for the carry, it is grouping is possible. So this is one grouping, this is another grouping, and this is another grouping. You can do only grouping of 2 and not more than that, because though there are 4 ones, they are not present in a groupable form. So therefore, you can do only 2 groupings at a time. So therefore, we have 3 set of groupings, and we have 3 product of sums. So 3 products terms we get x. So this will be the carry. So if you want to realize this again, we can simplify this. Okay. So if you want, as I said, this will be the if you want to realize using the half adder, we are trying to say that yes, we can use a half adder to identify the full adder also. So that is what is this expression telling here. So that means, what is this x y complement or with x complement y? This is an XOR of x and y. So here x is XORed with y, and that result is again XORed with z. So that will be the sum. So therefore, we have seen that we can implement the function using the XOR operation. Yes. So that means we can use 2 half adders. So you know that this is the half adder circuit. So you can use 2 half adders to obtain the full adder. Now, in this case here, so z will be made to work as the carry from the previous input. All right. So this is what is the full adder, and so again we are adding only 2 bits, not 2 numbers. It's just 1 bit. 1 bit will give only 1 bit result. So when I add 2 bits, I get only 1 bit result of the sum, which can be a 0 or 1. And of course, with the carry, again carry is not considered. We will take the sum only, right? So this carry again has to be added to the next sum, and so on. So when we do that, we call that as a parallel adder, or the sum will be present, this carry will be used for the next addition, next bit addition. So that we call it as a parallel adder. So we will look into that parallel adder. So here I am taking 4 bits. Which are those 4 bits? A0, A1, A2, and A3. That is one set, and B0, B1, B2, B3 are another set. So I have this FA is nothing but a full adder. I'm going to add 2 bits in the bits A naught and B naught. So this is the 0th position. This is uh, in the position number 1. So if, and this is now in the position number 2, and these 2 bits are in the position number 3. So if you consider a 4-bit, A3, A2, A1, A0 will be the different bits in that. So we are going to add bit by bit. And so this is, as I said, the full adder will take the carry from the previous addition. Now when I add A0 and B0, of course, this will be the least significant bit, so you will not have any carry from the previous. So C0 will be 0. So when I add these two, I will get a sum. So that will call it as a sum 0. Now when I add these two, if there was a carry that was generated, that we call it as a C1. C1 is the carry of the uh, output of the first sum to the second full adder as an input. So this will become the carry input to the second or the next stage. All right. So the C1 is a carry from the previous addition. Similarly, C2 is the carry from the previous addition of B1 and A1 and B1. Similarly, C3 is a carry of addition of A2 with B2, and C4 is the overall carry if it was generated. So when we add two numbers, you know the sum can be more than two numbers. That means, when we add two bits, it can be more than one bit, right? The sum will be more than one bit. That is sum and carry, 2 bits. So when I add 4 bits, the sum can be more than 4 bits. So that will be represented by this carry bit. Okay, so we see that we can perform the parallel addition. So here, as I said, the carry input, we have different carries, C0, C1, C2, C3, and C4. So we represent that with the I state, indicating that it can be from any, it can be the 0th position, the first one, second one, or the third one. The third one indicates the final, uh, of course, the third one indicates here, and the final overall carry will be C4. So C4 is not shown here. So this is C4 is the output carry, which is shown as Ci plus 1. All right. And the two numbers that we add are called as the augend and addend. So now the number getting added to another number. So this, suppose if this is what we are considering. Okay. So if you are going to add these two, then what will be the carry input of the previous was 1 or 0 is what we are going to consider and add. Okay, so suppose we are adding these two numbers. So that is 1011 and 0011. So these are the two numbers we are adding. So what is this 1011 in decimal value? This will be 9, right? No, this will be 11. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 is added with 3. Okay, so 11 plus 3 is so 11 plus 3 is how much? 11 plus 3 is 14. So 14, to represent 14, how many bits do you require? What is the maximum 4-bit number that you, what is the maximum decimal number that you can represent using the 4 bits? It is 16 binary, right? So therefore, rather 15. So 15 means all 4 bits being 1. So therefore, you can represent using the 4 sum bits here. All right. So when you consider here, so this is 1 plus 1, and the carry from the previous input is 0. So therefore, how much you get? 1 plus 1 is 0, and carry to the sum is 0. Carry to the next stage will be 1. Next, so that 1 comes here. So what is the carry from the previous stage is 1, and the 2-bit values are 1 and 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 will be 3. So 3 means sum is 1 and carry is 1. So carry means carry to the next stage. So this is 1. So carry to the next stage is 1, and the bits values are 0, 0. So the 1 plus 0 plus 0, sum is 1 and carry is 0. So the next carry to the next stage is 0. So 0 plus 1 plus 0, sum is 1. And so therefore the final output carry C4 will be 0, as you can see from here. This is Ci plus 1 at the end of the addition, final addition, at the end of the addition and the final output. You see that the carry output is 0. All right, so this is an example shown here to uh, for a simple parallel addition. So this is called as a parallel adder. So I am going to add the bits simultaneously, but when this addition will not be complete until and unless it gets the carry from the previous addition. Similarly, this addition will not complete until it gets the carry from the previous addition, or it has to wait until it has got the carry from the previous addition. So therefore, the carry is getting propagated is what we are seeing here. By doing this, we have taken this parallel adder and we have seen that the carry is getting propagated, right? The carry output of one stage is getting propagated as a carry input to the next stage, right? So this will cause some delay. So therefore, how do we overcome this problem? So as we can see, if you can write the expression for this, so uh, we will call this as P and G. So this we simply call this as P and G. What this P and G is, we call this as a G because it is the generated. So we know that the AND gate generates the carry and the OR gates, it just takes the previous addition, right? So therefore, so this P we call it as a propagated carry and G we call as the generated carry. All right. So carry generated and carry propagated. So that is the simple terms of why P and G are used instead of the partial sum. Okay. So what this will be the final sum. Now we are going to write the expression in terms of this P and G and C's. All right. So the final output will be C I plus 1. So this is for a particular stage. If it is, we are talking of A naught and B naught. So this will be A naught, B naught, P naught, G naught, C naught, C naught, P naught, S naught. And this will be C1. So that is the carry to the next stage and so on, right? So this will be the carry propagation. So as I said, it has to be generated from one stage and to be propagated to the next stage. So that is what we are looking at here. So if you consider, if you go back to the previous circuit, the C4 is the, okay, let us come back here. Yeah, here's the C4. So each uh, full adder has 4 gates here, right? I mean 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, or rather 2 half adders. So it has 2 stages. So it has to propagate from here to here. So if a carry is generated, that has to go. Suppose if there was a carry here, and that is the input given here, it has to get added to this. So it has to wait for this output, and then the carry has to be added in the next stage, and then only I get the output, right? So therefore, we see that for the carry at the C4 position, so it takes 2 into 4 because there are 4 stages and each stage has 2 stages in 2 half adder stages. So therefore it is 2 into 4, that is 8 gate levels. So when the carry has to propagate from C0 to C4, it takes 8 gate levels. All right, it has to pass through 8 gates to occur at the C4 for the final result, right? So if this, if we are considering 4-bit, maybe that might not be very crucial, but if you consider an n-bit adder, so there will be 2n number of stages. As here, if it is a 4-bit, we are considered 2 into 4, that is 8. If it is an n-bit adder, we are considering, let us say n is equal to 32 bit. So we are adding 32-bit number. Uh, So therefore, in that case, so we have to wait 2n, that is 64 gate levels. It has to pass through from the input where if the carry was given to the output. All right. So which takes a longer time, right? So therefore, this will limit the addition operation. So the addition operation will not be quick because it has to wait for the carry from different stages. So therefore, this is the problem with the binary adders. So we have to overcome this problem. So how do we overcome is the solution. We bring it with the carry look ahead generator. So that means when the carry is when probably the carry might be generated, we predict that. So this is called as a carry look ahead generator. So now we see that when C naught is the carry from the previous case, I mean the zeroth position, and so when does the C1 output come? So when we have added the result. So you see that from when we get the C naught is the input carry, and what will be the C1? That is when does the carry 1 occur? When the G naught is 0, I mean the G naught odd with P naught C naught. So from this, what you call the circuit, we can see that when is C1 occurring, so it has to wait for these two, that is P naught and P1. So P naught is nothing but the uh, sum of the first stage, and C1 is the carry of the first stage, right? So that is the propagated and carry generated G. Okay, so therefore, as I said, if the terms are a little confusing, we can just say this is P naught and G naught. Okay, so the first output and the first carry generated. So it has to wait for this for the C1. Similarly, when you take the C2, it has to it has to take in, if you consider this gate, so it has to take in the G naught operation and P1. So that means the carry generated from the previous and so on. So you see that when we write the expression for this C2, from this expression, it will be G1, P1, C1. What is C1? What is C1? C1 from the previous expression here, we got that as G naught plus P naught C naught. All right. So when you put back, we get this expression here. Similarly for C3. So we are just writing this so that we predict when and where the carry is generated. So you don't have to wait for all that. So when the bit is high, the output is immediately available. So that is what we are trying to say here. So by using this carry look ahead, it need not have to wait for the carry to get propagated. It is immediately available and the result can be computed immediately. So therefore, by using this carry look ahead, you have improved the addition operation of the binary adder, and it can work fast. So this is the carry look ahead generator, which generates the carry whenever there is a carry, that is from the input to the from any of the bits from the one stage to the next stage, and therefore you have got all the sums. So in between the sum and I mean the output XOR gates, we are going to include this carry look ahead generator, which is nothing but this circuit here. We just saw the circuit here. This circuit is the one shown here. Okay, so this is the circuit and we are generating the output. So therefore, when you use the carry look ahead generator, it speedens or makes the binary addition faster. So therefore, we can use, of course, the circuit increases in complexity, but the operation is faster. So that is the advantage of using this parity look, I mean, the carry look ahead adder. Okay, so far we have seen the application of the XOR gates and we have seen into the binary adder. In the next session, we will look into the binary subtractor and how we can use the decimal addition also. With that, we wind up this session. Thank you.